Good morning. So this will be yet another microscopic examination, 2 slides. After the updates to the, it's the same crucible, small updates, mostly updates to the, with regards to the symbolic language. Not critical ones, but still I wanted to, I'm still not happy with, even though last time we've seen significantly larger trained bacteria, which is the purpose of this culture, and also great amount, and like obviously trained bacteria, not ambiguous identification, but I was still not completely happy. There is an ongoing topic that that I admit I don't really. I need to think about it both from the analytical perspective, but also from memory and maybe experimentation, and also maybe with the natural, find natural parallels to what exactly it means, like symbols that are partly inside the neuron and partly outside of the neuron. Which is, it was very important since at the beginning of the experiment, because the electrolysis is exactly like that, and it was significant, but I still don't understand completely. I just know that, in the previous experiment, it was the important part of the construction, and maybe it was a coincidence, but we saw actually a tremendous amount of such things, like, a trained bacteria that is like half outside and half inside, like, the neuro. Either in the solar gate, in the portal position, or not, both ways. It can be both. Like either way, you see the bacteria which is inside and outside, but if it's in the portal position, the inside, the background is different. So it's a question. I need to think about it some more and find the equivalence, and of course, run experiments. Another thing that came to my mind. During the last, this night, when I thought about, when I tried to analyze the situation with regard to the symbolic language, is the issue of the neurons that are inside the trained bacteria. Because if I can affect the neurons using the bicycle effect, that not only that are inside my body, or not even those that are in container, but those that exist in other containers, for example, like that are not in front of me, like humans and titans all over the world. And also, I told you in the past that I can affect it even in other types of container, for example, atomic bombs or nuclear reactors. So why not the neurons inside the trained bacteria? Because there are neurons inside the trained bacteria as well that are serving the trained bacteria. So I always thought of them like as the bad neurons, that there are good neurons and bad neurons, like in the human body or in the titan body. Like the neurons that are outside the trained bacteria, they are the good neurons that serve in general, they serve the body, the person, unless they get, barring, the bicycle effect that, is like, overrides like the usual behavior. And I also thought, okay, so the person, typically they are infected with the trained bacteria, because it goes hand in hand in our time in Earth, even though it doesn't have to be that way. And I understood that the trained bacteria is a vehicle for the neurons. There are also ways to know that, which means that there are neurons inside the trained bacteria. By the way, in other animals as well, like the full metal jacket, that we've actually seen the neurons, by autopsy, because it's not microscopic, like the metallic bee or metallic wasp, if you remember. We have several videos with documentation of and discussion of the full metal jacket. So I thought, okay, but why are they bad? They are inside the trained bacteria. They might be, also subjected to such, to a symbolic language. But so this can have two implications. Not mutually exclusive implications. One, that maybe if there is enough trained bacteria in a container, like a body or any other container, maybe I can control the trained bacteria directly without the neurons. Of course, in order to get there, you usually need neurons, because in order to create the culture with neurons, as you've seen in the many previous experiments. But presumably, if there is enough trained bacteria, maybe you can do things even without the neurons. Like you can directly, you can directly tell them to do stuff. So you can, I mean, not you, me, can control the bacteria without even, the neurons. It's an interesting thought. I mean, through the neurons that is inside their body. For example, you can tell them multiply or lay eggs or do things like more vigorously or do all sorts of or kill the bacteria, which is the easiest because they're inside of it. This can have and another implication is that maybe such symbols. I mean, it got dirty, but it's okay. And like in what we actually see in the low symbol is an alternative to the usual, because usually, I mean, I place on the symbols, not always, but usually it's almost like the symbols are placed on a round metal container like this one. It's not like it's not just a random thing. It's almost always like that. Almost always like that. And if not round metal, another thing that can so that it's almost always like that. Not always, but almost always like that. The symbols are placed on top or inside a round container, usually metal, sometimes other things, but usually metal. And I thought, okay, maybe this is kind of like, the default, I don't know, I mean, it's a stretch, but maybe it's kind of like, it's a mode, like, mode of symbolism that is aimed specifically at the neurons. But maybe this kind of thing, where the trained bacteria is the dominant symbol and it's all around, the background. This is the background. Background is not the container. Background and containers are two different things. Background is background, and background is 2D. Usually, the container is something sturdy, which is 3D, and usually it's rounded. I try not to use boxes like containers that are rectangle, even though I've done so in the past. But this is very problematic because it symbolizes the arc, and it's one of my symbols. So it's very dangerous. Again, I try to stick to red containers or black containers, like of discardable assets. Anyway, this might have been like another symbolism that specifically like stuff that are specific one to the trained bacteria or to the neurons inside the trained bacteria. Now, it might be difficult to prove the difference because, in essence, it doesn't necessarily, mean different thing like the in essence. But okay, so let's take a look and think about it later. Just say that it might not be easy to differentiate between the two because as I mentioned in the previous video, I think it's sometimes it's the same to say that it's equivalent to say to give command to the neuro with regard to the trained bacteria, or to give commands in parallel to the trained bacteria and to the neurons. The way that it's it's implemented in the symbology is many times it's very similar, as I've explained I've given this example of that in the previous video. So let's continue. I'm using the small covers that I don't really like because I'm almost out of the longer ones. I need to buy more. זה מעצבן זה. better. The backup is we listen to one of my favorite mixes. It's kind of like, it's like Stravinsky, like it means to, like Petrushka, like, to break your expectation. Like, I mean, it starts from a very, I would say, like, from the world of, of the fairy tales, like, from like very kind of a common ground, but it with clever usage of like cacophonic elements. It kind of like, it superseded, the audience expectations, and create like, I think a nice desautomatization, like, and strengthening effect that presumably, I mean, results in reappreciation of life as an artistic, phenomenon. I think when I mixed this, I mean, when I created this new musical score, it was maybe a year ago, 8 months. I mean, I was influenced by the neighbors in the apartment. Certainly, with regards to, I mean, the musical style was something that, I mean, they used a lot, like, especially, the repetitions, the kind of, like, the intentional disharmony between the repetitious nature of the leitmotif, like the Wagnerian leitmotifs, on the one hand, but I mean, and like the text, like, the libret, which is intentionally kind of like, uses like, like common language and like, audacious use of the tongue of the common people. I don't know what we see over here, but it's interesting. I don't really know what it is. 150. Not sure what it is. This is also something that I think I picked it in the apartment, like in the hostel, like this, way of, articulating complex narrative modes using the vernacular, like the vernacular language, like you need some experience to know how to do it right. Otherwise, you don't want it to sound really common. You still want it to be, innovative, and because if it was completely common, it does not create the estrangement, effect, as attributed to the Russian formalists of the time. But still, I think that what the important takeoff is that you can still create an estrangement and the innovative, aspect of the work while still using the vernacular language, which was kind of new to me, but I think I was in fact affected by it when I created this musical score. Okay, 64 modification. We've seen all sorts of neros and nice stuff that I cannot really understand what we've seen. I admit it was kind of disgusting, but in a pretty way, which is a common trope in this drama, like in the grand scale, I would say, in the grand scale. Just a second. I'm not sure what we see. It looks like life forms, probably 10 bacteria, not certain. And again, we see these kind of formations that seems to be, taken from outside of like neurons that were in the heat, like, and became twisted. Or maybe they twisted themselves for some reason. I'm not sure. Like maybe they're twisting, for some purpose, not just because of the heat. I don't know. It's like a question. It looks like all sort of like, things, things, dvarim, sorts. Interesting. Tremendous amount of like body parts of the 10 bacteria. I'm not sure if it's like something that are in the construction, or maybe it's a following, a quote unquote fight, with the neros. It's a question. This is obviously a train, very nice one. Many neos, which is great. Yes, not as much as we've seen before, but again, this was diluted again and again with all sorts of materials. Like, we need to remember that we always dilute, we now have, this is like the main, this will be very neo-rich and not much 10 bacteria, although this is as well. And we have like 3 pretty big, full of things, like, material, all the replenished, the crucibles, and I even added another one. All that to say is that, along the way, we increased the total material by significant amount, even though we burned some of it because of all sorts of reasons. And this, of course, creates like dilution, but I take it into account because it's one of the required effects like, to increase the total size of the quantity of for future experiments and future like bicycle effects, like what we've done today out of the YouTube, like in this kind of like hell crucible from IKEA. Nice. This looks like a train. Yes, another one. Still, we don't see a very big one. And it's something to do with symbolic language. I'm certain that, or maybe just time, because the last time, I mean, yes, indeed, when I had like the Monasters one, it was after like a day or two, not just a couple of hours, but I'm sure we'll get there, like and maybe in the meantime we'll continue with the electrolysis. You see that I already colored, the two Harsina, ceramic, workbenches in, with red acrylic. So we'll use it very soon. Hopefully, the Homo sapiens can also will be able to educate themselves, like, on the qualities of the bicycle mechanism, like the Titans until now. Okay. Okay, slide. Not. I mean, yes. I mean, it's a good slide, both neuro-wise and bacteria-wise. I would like to see bigger ones, and I need to think how to do it. Maybe using AC, like with the bigger one, because maybe the AC. First of all, it allows you much higher voltage. But also, maybe there is something with the AC itself that fits the train bacteria much better than DC, which is almost always used with the Neros, both for the energizing of the electrolysis compartment, and also when I energize the symbols using very simple DC circle, because I mean that's what it's all about when you think about it. Like arguably the train bacteria is symbolized by the AC itself. Can be argued, like the back and forth. But I'm not sure. I need to think about it, and also conduct experiments. Just a second. Okay. This is certainly life form. I'm not sure if it's train or not. Maybe train, maybe not. So the East, I mean, they were pretty much gone. We don't see much of it, even though I've added quite a bit of East now. Like in a good, I don't know, maybe they eaten it? I don't know. Question. Okay, I've added quite a bit of this East. Maybe I added a little more even, like in the next light. Mostly these are gone. Maybe, you know, just eaten. I don't know. Nice life form, not sure what it is. Too many colors and too much stuff. Like, I mean, it's not the best created slide. I'll buy more of, you know, the long covers, so we'll use the long covers. Here we definitely see bacteria, but I'm not sure if it's dead, alive, construction, destruction. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like a laboratory from the alien movies. You see all sort of stuff, you don't know if they're about to die or about to be alive, or are they already alive? I mean, well, what's the status here? It's a question. Mutated yeast, very nice. You see it, 10 bacteria and Nero walking on it, very nice. You know, as mentioned, they walk, no, just by, you know, hovering above them. It's like a remote walking, but sometimes there is also mechanical friction between the bacteria and the Nero. Usually it's like, you know, it's like it's hovering above and just, I mean, watching and do stuff remotely, but sometimes it's been observed that actually touch each other even vigorously, like, you know, in a very like frictionless way. Here as well, you see something like that. Okay, so what I'll do next is probably so let's continue with the electrolysis, because I promised myself that today I'll start with it, and I'll think about how to improve the current construction. It should be said that it's still energized, so we might see actually improvement, in the next couple of hours, and then take other examinations. So let's leave it like that. Let it go for now.